Welcome back to Second Breakfast. Today we're talking about X-Men 97, but we're doing it in our own little way. So we got to start this with a little table setting. We got to prep things the right way. I am a lifelong but heavily lapsed X-Men fan. I heard great things about this show. And then we went to visit Tristan, best friend of the show, occasional co-host, always love his episodes. And he basically held a gun to my head and made me watch the opening of the show, the theme song, and then we were waxing poetic and reminiscing about these characters that we loved in our shared youth. And he fast-forwarded to the point where Cyclops does the cool hero landing, and that kind of sold me. So Maggie and I get home and we watch the pilot, and I think by the end of that episode, it kind of clicked with us, at least to try it a little more. And meanwhile, Maggie had been having this hankering for cereal. She couldn't stop talking about, I think I want to try like cereal again. So I had a little light bulb moment. I combined the peanut butter and the chocolate, and it started this new little ritual for us. So basically, I think we found a way to revive the excitement and warmth and tradition of Saturday morning cartoons, which of course we had as kids, but we never had together because we didn't meet when we were kids. So my little pro tip aside is that this show gave us more time together and sort of carved out a new daily activity and block of time. We would get up early and watch an episode of X-Men 97 together while eating a big bowl of Fruit Loops. And I think that is absolutely the best way to experience this show.
It's been very, very fun. For context, normally when I wake up in the morning, I need about 30 minutes where I'm just sitting, drinking my coffee, kind of doing nothing because my brain isn't turned on yet. Sometimes I'm trying to read, sometimes I'm kind of on my phone, sometimes I'm kind of journaling. Mostly I'm just sitting, staring into space.
There's a lot of staring.
Right. And so usually I get up before Cam because I need that time. But so what we did instead was that staring into space time. Instead, I'm staring into space at the X-Men show. So am I taking in all the details? Certainly not. But I'm doing my best and I'm having a good time. And paired with the cereal that we grew up with as kids, we've been having Fruit Loops. We got some Frosted Flakes. We got one of those those little, when you go on vacation with your family and you buy the little pack of mini cereal boxes because you're going to be in your hotel for a week. You want to have a variety.
Nothing better.
Right. So we bought one of those. So I've been having Frosted Flakes, Corn Pops. What else do they have?
Cocoa Rice Krispies.
It's
Frosted Flakes.
Apple Jacks. Apple Jacks. That was the other one. Yeah. Anyway, it's been very, very fun. I've really enjoyed the ritual. And I will say, this is not a show that I would have chosen to watch on my own. And even after the first episode that I enjoyed, I wouldn't have continued. But because I'm watching it with you, it's been very, very fun.
And we were bullied into it together. And I will add that these are characters you don't really have a history with.
No, none at all. I haven't seen any of the X-Men movies. I've never really been interested because I'm like, why are they blue?
And
also, know me, I'm not a superhero person, so.
No, I know, but I also watched your reaction during this show, and there were definitely a couple episodes. I'm thinking of episode 5 with the Gambit stuff.
Oh, sure.
I'm thinking of the last 3, the 3-part finale.
Yeah, it's cool.
I saw you more locked in here than I've seen you with any superhero fare.
Really?
Yes.
Ever?
I think so.
That's not true.
Not
at
counting
all.
Batman because he's something else. But besides Batman.
Okay.
More than any Marvel thing ever.
Okay.
Let's caveat it that way.
Well, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are different.
Marvel. That was Sony at the time.
Okay, sorry. I was just thinking of whatever. So yeah,
I get your point.
With all the caveats, I guess that is true.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the experience of watching the show, and I know we're each going to have our own take on this. Do you mind if I go first?
I don't mind at all. Please
go. My experience is of returning to characters I loved who I just sort of... I didn't bounce off from them. I just sort of, I don't know, moved on. I got obsessed with other things. I moved into Game of Thrones and all these other things that we can't stop talking about on these episodes.
Well, also the X-Men movies kind of stopped/went downhill, and there hasn't been a lot of new X-Men content in the last 10, 15 years.
That's true. Because I saw all of the X-Men movies as they came out, dotted throughout my entire childhood. So I love these characters from that. And even though some of the movies are not good, I like the characters, and I liked spending time in that world. I think I didn't see the new Dark Phoenix one with Sophie Turner.
Right.
And I think there was one more that I didn't see.
Yeah.
But I basically saw all of them.
Okay, cool.
So
I haven't seen any of them.
But it's not just the movies. Because I was a kid and because we used to be a country, we used to license things properly. We used to exploit properties properly. It was the movies, the games, the comics, the trading cards. I was into all of it.
Oh, sure.
All of it, especially the trading cards. This was a clean way back into this world that I probably wouldn't have returned to otherwise, unless I just got into some old comic artist or writer and got in the back door that way.
Sure.
But this was a great way back in for me. The major characters that I wanted to see, your Wolverine, your Cyclops, your Magneto, they were all present. And the new characters who I didn't know as well, I thought they were fun little additions, kind of sprinkled on the side. It wasn't like they took center stage, which is probably important when you're appealing to a mainstream audience. I really liked that there were gestures at the deeper lore of this world, because there are so many hundreds and thousands of comics that they're pulling from.
Sure.
But also some clever shorthands to like catch us up. When they introduced Cable and they gave us that little backstory of, oh, he's actually Jane and Scott's like kid, and here's what happens, and he was thrown into the future, and now that's why he's old. Like, that was very clean for me, because
Sure.
I didn't. If I knew that at some point in my life, I certainly didn't know it now.
Yeah.
But I loved that the show. I never felt out of my depth, but I also felt intrigued. They would gesture at the kind of bottomless nerd depth of this story.
Yeah, like there's always more to know. There's always more to understand.
But I wasn't lost. I wasn't overwhelmed by that lore. It just kept me hungry by kind of drip feeding that to me. There was also an infectious kind of unmistakable mastery and reverence of the source material, which I think you and I have really missed in some other big adaptations of genre stuff that have happened lately. And it does all this while still very clearly focusing on the present story and the present episode. We had this beautiful, clean episodic structure. There were some one-offs, some ensemble episodes, a two-parter, a three-parter. But for watching it kind of, especially for you, sort of bleary-eyed in the morning, I felt like we could still wrap our heads around what was happening without needing like an encyclopedia of all of this lore. I really appreciated the way it was structured. The other thing is, I wake up better than you do. Yeah. So I think I had my wits about me a little bit more.
That's definitely true.
That might change throughout the course of the day, but in the morning, I think I do have a lead on you.
Yeah, you have like a 2-hour lead on me in the morning.
And for me, I think another great magic trick of bringing back an old show like this is that your core audience has aged. And the thing I really appreciated about X-Men 97 is that it played fantastically to my matured sensibilities.
Yeah, I was left wondering, like, what is this like for like a 7-year-old kid? What is it like watching this? I can't really imagine what that must be like.
Yeah, because I felt like this grew up with me. The writing was genuinely powerful in moments. The dramatic pacing is solid.
Yeah.
The narrative feels urgent. Like it has serious storytelling chops going on here.
Sure.
And then there's the theme song.
Oh,
that
man.
like nostalgia headbanging Sugar Rush theme song.
It has no right to be that good. It doesn't need to be that good.
It's so good.
And it's
even,
great.
Even you in your sleepy trance, you were humming it, you were rocking
I'm
to
like,
it every
all right,
morning.
Here we go. Yeah.
The show was just fun. And I think the music is a big part of that. Because I always hear you in my head talking about the MCU not having memorable music.
Yeah.
The live action
it sucks. Yeah.
Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
This did. Like the music was thrilling, the show was colorful, it was exciting, it was memorable. It was just good superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And it just left me with a really positive experience. What was yours, though?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I said earlier, it's not something that I would have chosen to watch on my own. And even after watching the first episode, I wouldn't have chosen to keep watching it. Not because I didn't like it. I was just pretty neutral on it. I was like, sure, yeah, that was fun for a superhero animated show.
Sure.
I have other things I want to do, so I wouldn't have watched it.
Stare at the wall.
But if I'm going to watch something in the morning, this is not the choice I'm making. But no, it was fun. What I enjoyed most about it was how much you liked it, because I could tell it was really scratching a nostalgic itch for you. And I could tell it was like tapping into things you loved, and I could see you appreciating the story beats and the writing. Like, I loved how much you loved watching it. And it's been fun for me in the morning, because it like that combined with the cereal thing, like sitting on the couch, it does feel like, oh yeah, like it feels like I'm a kid on a Saturday morning, every morning. And like that's been fun. I was surprised at how complex the story was, again, because I figured it's probably the target audience is probably about 20 years younger than I am. And so I figured it was going to be a little simpler. And I also didn't expect it to be a through line story for the whole season. I assumed it would be very like episodic, like what are the X-Men gonna do this week? Like maybe there would be a through line between 2, maybe even 3 episodes, but not across the whole season. But that's not what this was. It went across the entire season. I don't know if that's a result of, again, aging it up for the audience, like this older audience likes, you know, continuous stories throughout a season of a show, or if that's just the trend of TV shows now. Like I don't know if that's just the way TV is now compared to when we were kids, because when you were a kid, you had procedurals. You had things like not only in kids shows, but in things like, I don't know, ER or Seinfeld or like anything where it's like it's the same characters every week, but like it's a different thing happening. But overall, there's not much of a larger plot stretching across the season because you're not going to guarantee that everybody's watching every single week. And so you kind of can't have that continuity. So I was surprised by that here. And that was also fun to watch. And I was really impressed by the 3-part finale. I was like, dang, they're really going for it. and I enjoyed that. And there was some fun character work. And the animation was really cool. It was really beautiful. You know, the character design is fun. I enjoyed season 1. If it were up to me, I would not bother with season 2. I'd be like, cool, that was fun. Don't need to do it again. But I can tell you want to watch season 2, so that's fine.
By that, do you mean that it told a complete story? Because I think you could also make that argument. Like, obviously, the last minute or 2 teases future adventures.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, we did have a full arc this season. And I could be, like, say the show hadn't been done well. They happened to be working on the first 2 seasons at the same time. But say they didn't do that and the viewership wasn't great for season 1, they canceled it. Like, this is still a good show. Yeah.
It's part of it is, it's nice that the story seems this part of the story has ended nicely and it's wrapped up. But I think even if there had been a massive cliffhanger, I would have been like, okay, and maybe not come back. That's just my own personal preference. I think for a superhero property, for an animated like serial show, and I mean that in both ways. Thank you.
Serialized.
Thank you. It's good. It's good for what it is. It's just not my kind of thing, but it is very good for what it is. And I've enjoyed the experience with you, especially.
See, the thing that really appealed to me, I think, was watching it with you, because it felt like I was sharing something from my past, but it was smartly updated for our current sensibilities.
Yeah.
Because I think anytime Tristan and I connect on something, I got to squint at it because we have a shared history. Our mother tongue is soap operas. Mm-hmm. And I think X-Men, more than any other superhero property, is a soap opera because it has so many characters. I was
going to say because of the large cast, yeah.
Because when you have Spider-Man, you can run that story through to its conclusion a million different times, but basically you hit the same story beats.
Yeah.
You've got to kill the same few characters, but you don't bring back Uncle Ben.
Right. No,
that's verboten.
Yeah.
That would almost break the story.
Yes.
X-Men, you can kill anyone and bring them back, and it's fine because you're happy to see them.
Sure.
And that's how soaps work. An actor transitions or moves over to another soap, then they're gone for a while. That soap gets canceled. Oh, they're back.
We're in a coma. Yeah, right.
It's fine. No one cares.
Yeah.
And I think X-Men has that quality where it's nice to settle in. The one thing that I think was better back in the day is that they had much longer seasons.
Yeah.
And I think when you have an ensemble like this, the more episodes you have, the more quiet moments or the more you can explore the ensemble. For example, Morph had 3 lines this season.
I was going to say, we didn't get to do anything with Morph. I kept forgetting he existed. And then Bishop was gone for a while because he was taking Nathan off to the future. So we didn't get any Bishop, And Storm was AWOL for a couple episodes. So.
Bishop was so cool.
He was cool.
Very cool. And I'm glad Cable got a lot of time. You mentioned something earlier when you were talking about your experience. You talked about that Saturday morning cartoon feeling. What does that mean to you? And did you have that in your childhood?
Well, I was trying to think of what actual stuff was I watching on a Saturday morning with my cereal as a kid. And I truly can't name what it would have been, but I just know that that's an experience I had. It was probably something on Nickelodeon or, Disney. But it's that feeling of, I don't have to go to school today. I'm still in my pajamas. That's a big thing. The problem is you, Cameron. Upon waking, you immediately get dressed. I can't do that.
There are strict rules.
My brain can't comprehend making choices about my clothes when I first awaken.
No, I mean, you can choose which wall to stare at.
Right. That's, and like how I want to prepare my coffee. Do I want to do an Americano or do I want French press? But other than that, there's not a lot of thinking going on. But it's the being in your pajamas. It's a little bit carefree. You're just enjoying like the slow pace of it, and like that it's a little bit later in the morning than it normally would be because it's a Saturday, because you slept in a little bit. And when you're a little kid, you don't sleep in the way that you do as a teenager or an adult. But still, you didn't get up at 7 a.m. You maybe got up at 8, you know, even though that's not what we're doing on a weekday. It's 6 a.m. and I've got to go to work later, but it's still that feeling of like that carefree relaxation and just getting to enjoy a silly little show while you have your bowl of cereal.
And what does that mean to you now, when we do it now as busy adults?
Because it's a nice moment of relaxation before the stresses of the rest of the day.
It's strange because those carefree moments as an adult have to be incredibly planned and intentional.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's such a tragedy.
I have these 15 minutes to relax.
Yeah. But no, it's good because I've for a long time now have intentionally made it so that I have long, slow mornings because I love to sleep. I'm you know, the sleepy time tea bear.
Uh-huh.
That is who I am, right? I love sleeping, and for a long time I was a like sleep until the very last minute, like getting ready in 15 minutes, throwing on clothes, like it's a total mess. Like, and I hate that. I don't like starting my day stressed out, and so I've really made an effort in the last probably 10 years to give myself plenty of time in the morning so that I can be slow and like not be rushed and not worried about anything. That doesn't always happen, but doing this has forced me to do that again. Like, it's like, well, I have to allow like 40 minutes because you need the like 10 minutes of like peeing and making coffee and like getting the TV set up, and then you need the 30 minutes of the show. And so I've had to make time for that. So I've really enjoyed that. That's been good.
Pulling it back to X-Men a little bit, what was the lasting impression you got from this show?
Honestly, the best thing that's come out of this, apart from the actual experience, is I'm more interested in watching the movies now. Not all of them, just like the first two, probably. The like with, you know, the Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and then James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. Like I'm interested in that, especially because I know you've talked about those movies, how much you love them. And now that I've seen the characters in action a little bit, I'm like, okay, I could watch those movies. So that's one like lasting thing that's come out of it. The other is just like, this show is well done, and I appreciate how much they are respecting not only the source material in the comics but also the original animated show. Because you told me like a lot of the voice actors came back, and like I've seen images and stills from the original show, and you can tell that there's a reverence there. So I've admired that too.
Because mine is to further explore animation. I'm interested in at least trying out, like I immediately want to go try out the original X-Men animated series that this is continuing. The original ended in 96 and this is called 97. So It would be like that, missing next season. But I think maybe more importantly, or rarely for superhero movies or shows, I think I might go back and check out again some of the original X-Men comics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you haven't really gotten into the X-Men comics, right?
Not in the past 5 years since our comic renaissance, but I have some experience with them from
when you were a kid.
Back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's sort of the best compliment you can give an adaptation of a comic, to reignite interest in the source material.
Yes, definitely.
I have a couple questions as a way of wrapping up. One, if you were to watch season 2, which you will, Tristan bullied us into watching this, I will bully you into continue watching it. At some point, you'll bully me about something else. What do you want from future seasons?
I'd like to learn more about Morph. I'd like less of Jubilee because she does nothing for me. She's very boring and irritating. I did like the video game half episode we got with her. That was interesting. It was a cool concept. That's enough. I need that's plenty. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
I have a way to qualify the question.
Okay, yeah.
Are you interested in more ensemble episodes or more of those solo side questy episodes like the Storm arc?
Definitely the solo stuff. Like that's
Really?
that's because that's what I loved about Orange is the New Black is like, oh, this is the tasty episode, or oh, like getting to dive deep into a specific character and learn more about them. So like I want a Morph episode, or I want to know more about Bishop, or I want to know more about I don't know, more about Xavier, I guess, not Professor Charles Xavier, like that'd be interesting. More about, I don't care about Jean Grey so much, but I don't know, like I think that would be fun. Because I think the problem I get with a lot of superhero content is when it zooms out too much and it just becomes, oh no, the planet's being attacked, we have to save the world. That's when I go, okay, I'm bored. So I want more character stuff and less like ensemble killing the bad guys stuff.
I like the ensemble because I think I learn more about the characters faster watching them interact. But solo episodes are tougher for me than interesting pairings.
Oh, sure.
I think I would like more pairings. And the way the first season ended, I think that's sort of where we're headed. We're going to get some unlikely team-ups. As the last question here, what like specific characters were highlights for you as a newbie to the X-Men franchise?
I definitely loved Magneto. He was my favorite by far. Loved him. Always want more of him. He was so cool. I really liked Cyclops. He was really cool and fun. I mean, he got a little one note, I guess, but I enjoyed him. Storm was cool. Really liked Storm. Loved her whole side quest. Like that stuff was awesome. Really, really liked her.
You liked Beast a lot. You really responded to him.
I forgot all about Beast. Yeah. I totally forgot he existed. Yeah, he was great. I really enjoyed him. Yeah, I want to know more about him. What's his deal?
Okay.
What's his story? And like Wolverine is very cool. I've always liked Wolverine, so I want to know more about him. So that lots of good ones there.
Yeah.
What about you? Who were your faves?
I think Magneto. Going in, I have a bias for Cyclops and Wolverine. I enjoy that love triangle with, one of the Jean Greys.
Yeah.
But I think Magneto really stole the show for me.
He was pretty great.
And I like that he was basically the lead and kind of right the whole time.
Right.
I think the narrative was on his side in a way that sort of turned the formula on its head and made everything feel fresh. It made Charles feel like an interloper instead of the anchor of the show.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe until the end there. But yeah, I think the biggest surprises for me were Gambit. Nightcrawler was fun, but Gambit I was really taken by. I really liked Rogue. I like Rogue from the movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Magneto. This was the Magneto show for me, and I want as much as possible of him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I just had a great time with this.
It was fun.
As a question to the audience, which animated show should we watch next? And more importantly, which cereal should we pair it with? I'm interested in X-Men, the animated series, and Batman, the animated series. What cereal pairs with each of those shows?
I could get into the Batman show. I think that would be fun. Yeah. Let us know what you think. What are good pairings for those?
Cool. Thank you for listening. If you want even more episodes from us, we have wild cards like this every Tuesday. We have Game of Thrones chapter by chapter episode discussions every Friday. And over on Sundays, some Sundays, most Sundays, we have Patreon bonus episodes. Right now we're doing all of the House of the Dragon source material, the George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood. We're going chapter by chapter through the relevant chapters that will be adapted into future House of the Dragon seasons. We've also got breakfast buffets covering all sorts of art from different medium, and there's a lot of stuff over there. There's a big pile of back catalog episodes for you to check out. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Bye.